drums, so we have almost landing. Yeah, come on everybody! Good. Audience and cheer. Play something. Keep building on. Okay? Drum solo. Drum solo! So, for example, you're playing sax solo.
guy's playing, you pick it up and you work it into what you do. Well, I needed a stick that was specifically tailored to my needs, musically of course, and also to, you know, the size of my hand and the fact that I played mostly traditional grip. So it's inspired by a marching stick for sure, and it's very thick. The diameter is very thick, it's heavy, it has a short taper, which means it's very robust, it doesn't break easily. It has an acorn-shaped tip, which is a very dynamic tip, which means that it is, you know, has a lot of attack on metal surfaces like cymbals, because it has a ball characteristic, but when you play on drums, the drum head obviously gives when you hit it, which means it covers more surface, which means it's a more dynamic, louder sound if you cover more surface on the head. So I had very specific needs in mind, and I wanted a stick that's really reliable, that is loud and powerful, that doesn't break, and that is versatile. And I play mostly pretty powerful music, so to me it was very important that I don't chew through the stick too easily on cymbals and so off. So you know, when you play you're heavy on hi-hats and stuff, you chew through the taper here, so that's why it's very thick. It still has a very good balance. It's like a giant 2B or something, like a, you know, 2B on acid, you know.
So you think it's a really personal thing?
Absolutely, yes. Of course, it has to be. I think every hand is different, every musician is different, you know, every musical need is different, and everybody has different tastes in sound. So I needed this. In fact, I recently decided to play more match grip. So about a year ago or so, I decided to switch to match grip playing because it's a lot less maintenance. I've been playing traditional grip for, you know, 40 years. So I wanted to change in my playing. I wanted to challenge, and I wanted to, you know, create a bit of a, you know, challenge for myself, and I changed a lot of things in my playing, including the grip. And for match grip, I'll need a different stick, because this was specifically designed for traditional grip playing. And now when I use this stick to play match grip, it feels not ideal for me. So at the end of November, a new stick is going to get released by Vic Firth. It's a new signature stick, which is slightly different. It's a little bit longer, it has a slightly different taper, same tip, and a new color, which is very cool, and I can't tell you, but you have to look out for it. So that's going to be very exciting for me, you know, to change also my stick now. Cool. So of course I think it has to be very specific for your personal needs, and everybody's different, you know. Some people like blue sticks. You know, I like white, you know, not only the shape and the size and the weight, but also I like the fact that it's white translates, you know, movement better. If you're on stage and you're playing, you know, and you've got the spotlight on it, it just looks great because white is more reflective than wood color or black or blue. So and of course a lot of marching sticks are white, so you can see the movement. And also Buddy Rich had white sticks, which I'm a big fan of Buddy Rich. So it's a bit of an homage to Buddy Rich and the marching tradition, you know. Yeah, well, I used the Roland V drums for a reason on the DVDs, because I think that we live in the 21st century, and it's essential for every serious drummer to be able to use electronic equipment and have electronic equipment. I don't exclusively play electronic equipment, and of course there is nothing that could ever, you know, take me away from playing acoustic drums. And the fact is, though, that 95% of all music today is produced on computers, is electronically pre-produced and produced with electronic drum sounds. And even when you think you're hearing live drums, you're probably hearing either sound replaced drums or MIDI drums or programmed drums. So the drum samples are so good these days that most, you know, productions are somewhat either sound enhanced or triggered or programmed. So in order to reproduce a lot of these sounds, you need the correct sounds. It's not about you know, acoustic versus electronic. It's about the result that comes out of the speaker in the end. So a lot of people are a little apprehensive, a lot of drummers, and they think that electronic drums are just not the same, and which they're not. They're not the same. It's a completely different thing. But look at people like Herbie Hancock or Chick Corea. They play grand piano and synthesizer at the same time. Because, and nobody ever asks, you know, what's better, why do you play, you know, a synthesizer, you know, are you not going to play piano anymore? Yeah. Of course not. You have to have both, you know, and the point is that I think drummers have to understand that you need both. If you're a professionally working musician, you can't just play acoustic drums. Even if you play acoustic drums 90% of the time, which is what I do. I play about 90% of the time acoustic drums, but you know, for certain things you just can't get the sound you want, or you need a different, like in this case, you know, we're in a small room for 8 hours a day, you know, playing drums for 8 hours a day. If I did this on acoustic drums, everybody would be deaf in here. So the electronic drums have a lot of great purpose and fulfill you know, a specific function in today's music, and for that they're the best. These drums, for example, they have, you know, tunable drum heads. You can play them like a regular drum. You can, if you don't like the response, you change it, you tune it like a regular drum, and you make it, you know, tighter or looser. So the response is great, you know. They feel like a real drum set. The cymbals feel authentic. So this is the closest thing you can get to a natural response on drums. Plus, the kick drum is really solid. The sounds are easily modified. You can easily program new stuff. It's very user friendly. So by far these are the best, and I use them, of course, when I need something specific, like a specific sound, or something specific like in a room like this, or for pre-production of a certain kind, or for rehearsals, or of course also live. When I play and I need to play electronic sounds, I don't try to simulate electronic sounds with my acoustic drums. Why? That's not correct. I use, of course, electronic sounds. So I have pads in addition to my acoustic drums, or sometimes a trigger from an acoustic drum to get an electronic sound, or I have some KD7 triggers, you know, so I can play certain, you know, 808 bass drum sounds and so on. So I mix it up, and depending on what I need, I use, you know. My camp is quite different from other drum camps because it is hands-on. Every student has to play with me for 8 hours every day. Every student has a drum set or a practice kit, a double pedal, and we play for 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the afternoon together as a group, and I limit the class to 20 people usually, maximum. Because I want to be able to specifically work with each student. If the class is too big, I can't do that. So this allows me to keep the level of the camp extremely high and keep the workout extremely intense. And the point is that I can guarantee results. After this camp, the students will go home with new skills, for sure, because they have just been playing, for example, in this case, for 3 days, for 8 hours a day, all new exercises, challenging exercises, and they've learned a lot of new things because they've been doing it. Yeah. You know, in other camps, there's maybe one tutor, one teacher who sits on one drum set, and there's a classroom of people who ask questions, he demonstrates, and he explains, which is great, awesome. But they don't get the chance to play and practice and try, and they don't get an assessment or correction from the teacher. So this is why this camp is very different, because I can work with each one and tell them, no, not like that, you know, left hand louder, or whatever it is. So as they go and during the camp, they actually try, they practice, and they learn, and they walk home with actual results. So this is one major difference. Also, another major difference is the fact that when the students register for the camp, they fill out a student information sheet. You know, we ask them certain questions like, how long have you been playing, you know, what are your inspirations, are you a professional musician, you know, do you speak English, things like that. And then give me the top 3 things you want to work on. What are your weakest points? And from all those different weakest points of each individual student, I create a specific curriculum for each camp. So every camper and every student gets what they need the most at each camp. which is also very different from other camps, you know, because there's usually one set curriculum which the teacher teaches, but I teach what each student needs to know, which is very different. That's why it's very effective, because if somebody comes and says, I have terrible, you know, hands, my feet are great, but I don't know rudiments, you know, I know it needs to work on rudiments. Or if somebody says, I don't know how to coordinate, you know, certain things, I have no idea, or my timing is terrible, whatever. So out of all these points, I create a very specific curriculum that covers exactly what each student wants to work on, which is of course different in every camp. You know, a lot of the things are the same. Everybody needs great hands, everybody needs great feet. But a lot of people have specific questions about soloing, about time playing. Some guys want to know more about jazz, some Afro-Cuban stuff, whatever. So I create a curriculum specifically for each group of people, which makes it even more effective, you know. So, and also the fact that it's so intense, I keep the level very high, and we actually play for 8 hours a day. We don't just sit around and I talk. Everybody's always hands-on playing, sweating, you know, blisters. It's very effective, I think, and it's a lot of fun because there's a great dynamic in the room when, you know, 20 guys are sitting in a room and working out hard, playing hard. It creates a vibe, you know, and it creates a great energy, and it's very infectious. You know, if one guy is not so good, you know, in the group, the other guys just drag him along and force him to become part of it as in a group dynamic, which is you know, very effective also. Aside from the drum camp, which is a sort of a touring event, I also recorded a new instructional platform. It's not a DVD, but it's an online subscription-based teaching school, a drum school, with a company named Artistworks. They're from California, from Northern California, from Napa. It's a brand new company, and it's a very unique concept. I have already recorded all the lessons for it in the summer this year, and I have recorded 300 very, very intense and different drum lessons. So I teach beginners, intermediate and advanced, and professional players. So it's subdivided in 4 categories of skill level. And most people, I think, know me from teaching more advanced drums. So this is specifically for beginners also, which is a very different approach to teaching, of course. If you're interested, or if anybody's interested, go to artistworks.com, and you'll see a lot of different teachers. There's a bluegrass academy, you know, with teachers teaching specific bluegrass styles, great musicians. Other drummers who are on the site are, for example, Billy Cobham, who's doing more of the jazz thing, and Luis Conte, who's doing percussion, and me, I'm covering all the very modern sort of 21st century type, you know, drumming style and heavier styles. A lot of coordination, you know, hand technique, foot technique, a lot of endurance and speed exercises, a lot of groove, time playing, different styles of music. And again, I teach beginners to professionals, so the whole spectrum. And in my school, you can find, you know, these different levels from beginners to, you know, intermediate, advanced, and professional players. And I cover, you know, everything from, you know, basic time playing, basic beats, basic styles of music, basic fills, you know, basic coordination, to intermediate, you know, fills and so on, up to, you know, super high-tech 21st century high-end drumming, you know, with ostinatos and, you know, very busy double bass drum and multi-pedal orchestrations and the whole thing. So it covers the whole range, and it's a really kind of organic new drum teaching platform. And what's really interesting about Artistworks and the way this school works is, you know, when you make a DVD, you finish a DVD, you package it, and you sell it. It's done. It's forever the same. Yeah. It will never change. Whatever's on the DVD will be the same in 10, in 50 years. The difference with Artistworks is that the curriculum is constantly changing, because students can look at my basic core curriculum and they see whatever paradiddle exercise, okay, and they practice it, and then they send me a video of them practicing and saying, is this okay? And I can assess and correct the video, and I can say, no, you know what, your left hand's not as loud as the right hand, or this is great, but now try to apply the paradiddle on the drum set, or play the paradiddle in a groove, or whatever it is, so I can help them progress. And whatever video answer I'm sending back to the student, all the other students can see. So every student learns from every other student. It's just like a giant global masterclass, which means that the curriculum is constantly evolving. And that's a huge difference in like a DVD teaching portal or forum or anything else, because I can specifically work with students, I can build up a relationship with the students, I remember their names, I know where they live, you know, what they are, how they're practicing, what their problems are, and over a long period of time I can really specifically work and help everybody. It's not like you buy a DVD and you put it in your DVD player, you know, on the screen I never talk back to you, you know, so I never say, that's nice, but, you know, you're doing something wrong here. Which is very, very different with this, you know, artist works.
So everywhere you are in the world, you can
exactly. I can go online everywhere. I can, you know, teach from my studio at home, where I have a whole, you know, studio, a video studio also set up, and I can of course teach wherever I am on the road. I can assess and correct from anywhere online. You know, so I can always log into my drum school and look at, you know, daily requests, you know, from students and help them wherever they are and wherever I am. So it's a very, very unique and I think new and interesting way of teaching, because I have plenty of time when I'm traveling, when I sit around in hotel rooms and got nothing to do, and I also make time specifically when I'm at home in my studio to record video answers and post them online so everybody can see them. So, which means that the curriculum is changing constantly and constantly evolving. It remains to have the core curriculum, but on top of that, every year, every month, every week, whatever, you know, it develops more and becomes more and more complex, more and more complete, and more detailed, which is, you know, a very unique thing.
Yeah.
2, 1, 2.
Traditional grip, right hand, switching to traditional grip, left hand. That's exactly. But if you don't play traditional grip, you can do this using match grip. It's not as pretty, but you have to go from both match to both traditional. drummer starts the solo. Still keeping time, but more open. So, for example, you know, I just... Okay, obviously that's the motif. Bing, it's just a sound. It's nothing complicated. Or it could be, I don't know. A texture. Variation. Okay, one.